There's an interesting article which turned up in the Daily Telegraph, and it's about the Foreign Office, which has written to some schools, private schools, asking for a discount for for the children of diplomats who are attending private schools. Partly because, of course, they need to have boarding facilities because their children they want their children educated in the UK because they are themselves being posted to different places around the world on behalf of the Foreign Office. So this represents a complete contradiction. There is inconsistency in government actions. So the government has imposed VAT on private school fees in a sort of knee-jerk, ideological decision, while simultaneously seeking discounts for government-backed families. This displays a lack of foresight or a chutzpah that is simply unconscionable. It's a contradictory approach that undermines the rationale behind the policy and showcases an internal discord between revenue generation and fiscal responsibility. Of course, the children of diplomatic and military families want to ensure stability in the education of their children, particularly when they are frequently facing relocation. The Continuity of Education Act, the CEA, aims to provide that stability, but the VAT imposition risks making this support insufficient, prompting the need for additional taxpayer funding or for special arrangements made by the schools themselves. This creates a cycle where policy decisions ultimately lead to more public spending, contradicting the initial intention of the budget measures. Private schools will inevitably pass on the 20% VAT cost through increased fees, potentially squeezing out middle-income families and impacting the school's financial viability. With the Foreign Office seeking discounts, private schools face pressure to mitigate these rises for select families, essentially subsidising government policy at their expense. And how does this appear to the public? The move to levy VAT might initially seem like a fairness measure to reduce privilege, but when followed by requests for discounts, it appears hypocritical. The optics suggest a government more reactive than strategic, addressing consequences only after decisions cause significant disruption. The same is true, of course, about the farmers' tractor tax. Educational experts and a number of MPs, tax experts, have already flagged up the policy's flawed nature, the hasty execution, particularly without thorough impact assessment on families with specific needs, such as those of diplomats, military families, SEND students, reveals a failure to consider the broader implications of this policy. And a more cohesive approach that balances revenue needs with practical support for essential public servants' family, for SEND children whose parents cannot afford to relocate to a better catchment area where their needs will be properly accommodated in the state system. This all suggests a government and government policies that have not thought through what they're doing, and anecdotes, specific data, all of these things will emerge to and will be used to challenge the government's position, but it may be too late. It may be too late to save the farms, it may be too late to save the schools, and it also provides a precedent for other governments in the future to ride roughshod over the public simply because of some ideological obsession. however it's couched, whatever ultimate benefit might ultimately be on offer, that benefit is not tangible. And this is the way towards tyranny. It's a shocking step, as indeed was the shocking step of the Rwanda bill and the opposition by Suella Braverman to the judgment of the Supreme Court and Rishi Sunak to bring in a law which says that red is blue, effectively, is to set a precedent where Westminster can override the advice and the decisions of senior judges. It makes the law worthless in the face of a government with a sizable majority. And that isn't thoughtful governance. That is the stuff of tyranny. And in the wrong hands, what we have seen in the last few years with foolish legislation by both the Conservatives and now by the Labour Party, these are precedents for the serious abuse of power. And even if people today, even if military families, diplomatic families, families with SEND children who haven't been fully documented, who can't get into the better state schools because they can't afford to move to expensive catchment areas, even if these people manage to avoid being seriously inconvenienced, seriously having their livelihood wrecked, even if these people manage to avoid that, the precedent is still there. And I can't think of situations where the government has been quite so draconian. And that worries me. I'd be interested to know what you think.